This morning we're going to be in the book of Luke, Luke chapter 8. Look down at verse 25 this morning. But he being Jesus Christ, but he said to them, where is your faith? And they were afraid, saying to one another, who can this be? For he commands even the winds and the water, and they obey him. Now the disciples faced a faith-testing storm on the Sea of Galilee. Now the Lord used this storm to teach them a great lesson, and you and I as well. This great storm had come down the mountainside and across the lake, making sailing very dangerous. Now Jesus, weary from the day of greeting the crowds and ministering to the crowds, he was asleep in front of the boat. And waves began to flood the boat. And it appeared that the boat could sink at any moment. Now keep in mind that these disciples were hardened fishermen who were accustomed to storms. They had seen many in their lifetime. However, this was unlike any storm they had ever seen before. In great fear, they awoke Jesus, saying there in verse 24, Master, Master, we are perishing. Jesus calmed the storm. After calming the storm, Jesus asked the fearful men a very important question. This question is important for you and I today. The question Jesus asked is, where is your faith? Where is your faith? Now we must be clear about Jesus' question. Jesus was not holding the disciples responsible for the storm, but he was holding them responsible for how they responded to the storm. They had given in to fear. Now, a question that often arises from study of this event is who was responsible for the storm? Biblical scholars do not agree about this topic. Some believe that Satan was responsible for the storm. Their argument centers around the fact of him being the prince of the power of the air, as the Bible tells us. And as such, they see Satan's open attempt on the lives of Jesus and his disciples. Now, it's true that the enemy can stir up storms in our lives. Amen? We can have things come into our lives that we're just not ready for, we're not prepared for. But if we stand on our faith, unwavering in our faith, God will see you through every time. When the storms come, we're not to look upon them as a failure of our faith, but a test of it. Now remember that no storm comes against us without God's permission. Now that may sound a little strange to you, but think about it. Even Satan's limited by the will of God. You doubt that? Read the first 2 chapters of the book of Job, and you'll see. Our faith may not be able to keep us from facing these storms, but our faith does have an impact on how we face them. The lesson to learn here is that faith does not prevent fear, but it can make our response to the storm much different. Each of us, whether we want to admit it or not, we have at some point in our life faced fear. Maybe it was the loss of a loved one. Maybe it was financial. Maybe it was relational. Maybe it was the world around us. Whatever it was, all of us at some point in time have experienced fear. I know y'all know that my dad passed away a year ago. My mom, she's been struggling with that very thing. And I tell her all the time, trust in Jesus. He'll see you through. You know, Jesus lays the blame for our fear squarely on the lack of our faith. The fear comes not from the storm. The fear comes from within us. Many are good at hiding their fear for a while, but sooner or later, the fear rises to the surface. Jesus wanted the disciples, and He wanted you and I to depend upon Him. No matter what we face in life, He wants us to unwaveringly depend upon Him. And if you're depending upon Jesus, I can tell you, we've all been without Him, and we've been with Him, and it's much better to be with Him than without Him. He's more than adequate to handle any storm that we may face in life. Our faith must rest on Him unwaveringly. Now, did the disciples not know who Jesus was? Did they really believe that any storm could claim the life of the Son of God? We say that we know Jesus Christ. We say that all the time. Here's the question: do we know who He is? Do we understand that He's the Son of God? Have we committed our lives to Him to handle whatever life may throw at us? Jesus is able to subdue anything and everything to Himself. Faith must rely upon who He is. He is the Son of God. He is the great shepherd. He is the only way to salvation. You hear me say it all the time in the book of John. Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but by me. The disciples missed that point. What Jesus commands, He enables. Why fear? Why fear? We've got the one who can overcome anything in our lives. Jesus will do what He says He will do. Always. Faith makes a lot out of the promises of God. But fear forgets the promises of God. We have an advantage over the disciples back then. We have the Holy Bible. Reading the Bible daily encourages faith. Are you living by fear, or are you living by faith? Many are dominated by fear. To them, Jesus asked this question: where is your faith? With that question, Jesus is calling for each of us to cast our cares upon Him, trusting that He will take care of us. And I'm asking you to do that right now. Will you, by faith, completely trust Jesus Christ? I'd also like to point out to you that if you've never made Northside Baptist your church home, and that's been laid upon your heart, now's the time. There's nothing fancy. There's nothing you have to do except come down, make your desire to join the church known, and this church is going to welcome you with love, hug you, shake your hands, and welcome you. Whatever your need, most importantly, come to Jesus Christ this morning. This altar is open. It's a place where man meets God. Meet God today. You come.